Hello and welcome to Health Matters on Channels Television. Thanks for joining us. I am Mary Alale Yusuf. As at December the 11th, there were over 71 million confirmed cases of COVID-19 globally. Recoveries were about 45 million and deaths about 1.6 million. In Nigeria, there were over 72,000 infections. More than 65,000 people have recovered and 1,190 have died. Recovery rate has slipped down to 91%. Case fatality rate is about 1.6%, and over 833,000 samples have been tested. The quality of the environment where children and adolescents grow up shapes their well-being and development. The WHO says about 1 in 5 children and adolescents has a mental disorder. In Nigeria, so much is happening, from the lifestyle-altering COVID-19 to school strikes. To discuss child and adolescent mental health in the face of COVID-19 and other occurrences is a chief consultant psychiatrist at the Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital, Aro, in Abeokuta, Ogun State, Dr. Aino Oyekomi. You're welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mary.
Mental health in the face of COVID-19 and all its attendant problems, reduced financial capabilities, lockdown, restrictions, wearing of masks, physical distancing, not to speak of ASU strikes, not to speak of school closures, so many things happening. What are the symptoms? What are the most common, what are the most common mental health implications of these happenings in 2020?
Fine. When things happen, especially when there are significant changes that bring along with it so much uncertainty, so much changes in us. Change is a constant thing in life. But when the change is so erratic, you can't predict. It comes with so much that people need to adjust. And people were never prepared for this. So it can come with so much stress. And when human beings are under stress, they can manifest different symptoms. So the manifestation or the affectation of anybody will depend on the age of that person, because adults and children or adolescents, they react differently. So what a crisis means to an adult is different from what it means to a child or an adolescent. So we have a plethora of mental health symptoms that they can manifest with. But by and large, what are the things that people can watch out for? Now, for some people, they will just show mild symptoms. So the intensity will depend on so many things, the age, like I said, the support system, so many things, the context and everything. So you can have mild, moderate, or severe symptoms. And some people might actually come down with a frank mental health disorder. So we have a continuum of symptoms. So on one end you have mild, and then as it goes to the other end, you now have frank mental symptoms. So what are the common mental health symptoms that you might have? And these are normal. They are normal things. They are normal way of reacting to adversities and things that we don't want. There are things like maybe poor sleep, change in appetite, negative emotional states like anger, irritability, sadness, inability to concentrate, not feeling like, not feeling like you're enjoying yourself. And these are just, symptoms that you might just feel, and they are normal. Now, they become a problem when they begin to distress you.
Aha.
Or when they begin to make you feel functionally incapable. So, mental health symptoms are normal reactions to adversities or negative occurrences, but they now become a problem when they persist. For example, it's normal to feel sad because, children might need to stay back at home again. So the news itself...
And miss their friends.
Yes, the news itself can bring some form of sadness. So it's normal, because even if a child is not sad, then you know that maybe there's something wrong with this child. But when the sadness is now persistent and it's affecting the functionality of that child, and then for children, I must say that children might not even manifest in typical ways that adults would. Like I said, you know, we can have externalizing symptoms and internalizing symptoms. So, for example, externalizing symptoms might include things like aggression. You know, this boy that was a quiet person just acting out.
That's better because parents can see that.
They can see that easily, but sometimes parents might dismiss it as, oh, he's an adolescent. You know, they might not know. They might think that, oh, this boy is going through an adolescent crisis, and indeed, it might be a combination of an adolescent crisis and a superimposed COVID stress. So sometimes it might just be that the boy or the girl will just pick up fights for little things, just irritable, you know. Sometimes might even be talking back at the parent or at authority figures. That's something that ordinarily he wouldn't want to do. So it's like the boy is overwhelmed, I'm just acting out. And then for internalizing
ahead of time. Now, this isn't the way the child normally behaves.
Yes. Sometimes some people will say, oh, maybe my child is under attack, you know, because here we tend to spiritualize a lot of things. Then internalizing symptoms, that means internal, you know, they will turn the stress inside. So these ones you might not know. So the child may just become more quiet than usual. The child may withdraw from family activities and just say, oh, maybe he's just quiet or he's just growing up. It might not be. And then sometimes a child might even regress to an earlier age. So, for example, an 8-year-old can start bedwetting again.
Oh, wow.
And you wonder what is happening. I mean, somebody that last bedwet maybe at the age of 4 and then now starts bedwetting, you know. So when children now start becoming clingy or, you know, they start manifesting behaviors that was not there, then it's time for you to say what is happening. And sometimes too, an adolescent can start doing drugs. And parents must be very careful now because people are under stress. Children are under stress. And when we say drugs, a lot of parents will think that it's cigarettes, marijuana, or cannabis, or Indian hemp, cocaine, this and that. But there are some household things.
Prescription medication
that they can
easily get to.
Glue, petrol. I've seen a 3-year-old girl who got hooked on petrol, sniffing petrol. Nail polish. These things can make children feel high. So in the face of significant stress, if you don't watch out,
you shouldn't tell yourself that there are no drugs in this house.
No, don't. You just have to be on the lookout.
I heard that some children stop talking. Is that true?
Yes. Sometimes they might even not stop talking altogether. They might have what we call selective mutism. So in some occasions they talk, sometimes they don't talk. So it might be confusing. But the take-home message is that any aberration in anybody's behavior, don't dismiss it.
Would you say that the stresses we've had in 2020 are enough to bring about some of these things?
Yes. I mean, just like you highlighted, COVID came with a lot of social isolation. And as social beings, human beings thrive, especially children and adolescents. They thrive in the midst of rich social texture. So the social texture is thin now. You can't hug. You can't go to your friend's place. These things are very stressful. Then the lockdown, you can't just go for birthday parties. You can't celebrate your birthday. Some children cannot go for their vacation. You can't do so many things. You are tied down at home. They have so much time on their hand. So they might be bored if they don't know how to use that time. And they see that school is disrupted. So the anger, the fear, the anxiety of, okay, I'm supposed to even graduate from primary school next year.
Lots of children are saying
now we don't even know.
We don't even know what's going to happen.
We don't know. So the uncertainty, the volatility of everything that is happening. They say now that we live in a VUCA world. There's volatility. There is so much uncertainty. Things are more complex and there's so much ambiguity. So nobody can really say that is the VUCA.
You're spelling VUCA.
VUCA, yes, yes. Some people might say VOCA, you know, but I call it VUCA, maybe VUCA or VOCA, whichever one you are comfortable with. So it is stressful for any human being.
Okay, tell us, with all these things that are happening, you know, some people don't react quite as badly as others. What's going on in the brain? Yeah. Can you show us with your
my model?
Your models.
Model. Yeah. Now you see, Mary, if you have a cut, you're in the kitchen and you cut your finger. You're cutting vegetable and you cut your finger. and you start bleeding and there's pain, what do? You pay attention to that cut.
Straight away.
You treat it, you apply maybe physical first aid, might put iodine or spirit or whatever, you wrap it, you protect that finger, and then the following day you check it, is it healing, is it closing? That is physical wound. Now, when we say COVID and everything that is happening, the social isolation, the not going to school, financial stress, NSAS, watching violence, hearing of violence and everything. Which part of our body reacts? It's the brain. The brain. So they can also inflict what we call psychological wounds. A lot of people don't know.
That's like a cut in the brain.
Yes. And then for the cut, like I said, your knife wound might be very deep, that first aid, your own first aid at home might suffice. But sometimes if it is very deep, then you might need to put some few stitches. Now, so what happens when we go through the stresses? Now, the brain can be functionally divided into 3 parts. So we have the survivor brain. That is the lower part of the brain.
Okay, that looks like it's the back.
Yes. That's the part that joins the brain to the spinal cord at the back.
Okay.
So the survivor part of the brain.
Survival.
Yes, this place is for survival. It handles all the functions that will keep you alive, like your breathing, your digestion, your respiration. It also handles your safety functions. So, for example, maybe we see a snake now. What is your reaction? You are either going to jump or you want to kill that snake.
That's right.
If you know that
run
you
or you attack.
Yes. So that run or attack conditioning will come from this survival brain.
Run.
Yeah. I too will run, but maybe that man will attack. Anyway, so for whatever, you need a burst of energy, you need to focus on that thing. So this survival brain is activated. Now, it is not supposed to be activated for too long. It's supposed it's supposed to just be used on demand, and then it goes back to status quo, to the default mode. Then, after the survival brain, then we have what is the emotional brain. That one is a little bit up here.
Okay.
It's up here. So this survivor brain, this emotional brain is responsible for emotions, bonding, and memory. So when you are in love with your child, it's here. When you are annoyed, when you are angered by anything, it's here. When you feel irritable, it's here. So when you're sad, it's here. Now, these 2 parts, the emotional brain and the survival brain, we are born pre-wired like that.
Okay.
So nobody teaches a child how to be angry. Nobody teaches a child how to smile.
So it's like a factory set.
Yeah, it's like a factory-fitted something, But the third part, and the part that makes us human beings, that make us different from other living forms, because lower living forms also have the survival and emotional brain.
Probably more than we do.
Yes, the third part is this uppermost part that we call the rational brain. But the thing about this rational brain is that it is not factory-fitted. It has to be cultivated. And it is this rational brain that makes the difference. So your coping style, your preference, the way you think. So if there's a crisis now, the way you handle it, the way you think outside the box, the way stress gets at you is from this part. So this rational part can actually modulate your emotional brain and your survival brain so that you are not enslaved to your survival brain. Now, what happens in adults? These places are already formed. However, the brain is plastic. We call it neuroplasticity. And it can be plastic throughout our lives.
Which means it can grow,
you can
shrink.
You can change it. The brain is flexible, and the brain is the only organ that is plastic in our body. So when the child is born, these other parts are formed. Now the rational part is not formed. The part that controls your emotion, the part that that regulates you as a person, the part that you use to self-regulate, the part that will dictate your reactions to things. This part will make you impulsive and reactive. But this part, the rational part, would make you proactive and behave in a goal-directed way. But this part must be cultivated. So when a child is born, it comes with all the neurons. Neurons are the brain cells.
Yes.
And these neurons are like wires, but they are not effective except they are connected. So when the neurons are connected, that is when they now begin to form circuits. And we have different circuits for different abilities. Are you flowing with me?
We're flowing, but we really need to go on a short break now. When we come back, we'll continue. Please stay with us for this very interesting segment when we come back from the break. Welcome back. It's Health Matters on Channels Television, and we're talking about mental health of children and adolescents in the face of the goings-on of 2020. You can call 0808-054-2233 for any question you have on this topic. You can also tweet at CTV_Mary A while the conversation continues. So we were talking about 3 different parts of the brain. We're talking about the rational,
Brain now, yes.
which is right here in front.
Yes.
Then we're talking about the emotional,
Which is below.
and then at the back,
Beneath the survival brain.
survival brain.
So I was trying to explain that the rational brain is not formed when a child is born. So what forms it? It is experience dependent.
Okay.
It depends on what goes on around that child, the type of experiences that child is exposed to.
Just
the
like
type
what
of
we're happening now.
Exactly.
So what you're saying is that COVID-19, ASU strikes, etc.
Yes, they are
be
like psychological
affecting-
wounds. Yes, that can affect, that can offset the survival brain. And you can imagine if a child is operating in the survival brain every day or for a very long time, the child will not even have time to
He'll be running on smoke,
develop.
so to
Yes, so the child is in class, the child is not even concentrating because you use this part to learn. Your rational brain is that part of you that you used to learn. And then, like I said, the rational brain can control this. So you teach children how to handle stresses. You see, small stresses are good. Small challenges are good. Otherwise, children would not learn anything. So small stresses are positive stresses for us.
How do you differentiate between what's a small stress and what's a big stress?
Everybody knows that. So we know that like this COVID stress now can be big if it is not curtailed, if you don't help children. And you see, children and adolescents, researchers have shown that no matter the hardship that they face, no matter the quantity of adversities, there is a particular thing that helps. The presence of a consistent, responsive, nurturing, supportive, and protective adult, or who can be the parent or the caregiver or the teacher.
Okay.
So it is not
Let's quickly take this call. Hello. Chikodi is calling from Ogun State. What's your...
Hello.
Hello.
Yes. I'm just watching the program. I like the conversation. I like what I'm talking.
Thank you, sir.
Discussing about the brain issue because most of the time I'm having such an issue of always headache.
Okay.
At back of the close to the spinal cord. Sometimes I will go to test my BP. The BP will be normal 120/80. 80. I have so many tests, but the last time they told me that I have having a peptic ulcer.
And you believe this is due to the stress?
I'm okay, but that headache always I have it.
All right. Let's allow the
I always
doctor
have that headache.
to react to that. Can this headache, which he feels, he says close to the spinal cord, can it be brought on by stress?
Headache is like a non-specific symptom, just like fever, and it can be caused by a myriad of disorders. So it depends on who is experiencing it, the type of headache when it happens. For example, if you have headache secondary to malaria, that one you might easily know because it might come and then go. If you have headache secondary to stress, you might, maybe when you sleep and then you wake up, everything goes away. But if you have headache that is secondary to some other disorders, it might not go like that, and it might be very, very serious, throbbing, banging, that will not even make you sleep. So it depends.
So in other words, find the causative factor.
Yes. If
Which
it is
means
mild
go to a
headache,
hospital.
yes, if it is mild headache, it might just be stress, it might just be malaria, but any form of headache that is giving you so much distress, you cannot sleep, you cannot eat, then go see your doctor.
Okay, let's go to the how of this brain training, so to speak. How does a caregiver, a consistent authority figure in the life of the child, help the person? But before we go to that, let's quickly take Alexander from Delta State. Hello, Alexander.
Okay. Yeah, tell me with me.
Alexander.
Yes, hello.
Hello. What's your question?
Yes, this is Alexander. I just want to be part of the program. I don't know if mine is a bit faster now.
Go ahead.
Okay, I just want to say the the lady there, I'm very much in love with the way she is analyzing things.
Thank you so much.
Basically, I have an experience because most of the things that she's saying now is a kind of the presentation, of a child that I know. Yeah, this child, started presenting with some kind of characters, which, is a female. She was not like that before, but when she went to school, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so when she went to school, she came home and, with different kind of, the way she was not before. But only for the parents to, after some time, it was traceable to a kind of drug that the child was taking. And even up to this time now, the child, at times will behave as if everything is well. But after some time again, you see some kind of that same symptoms still coming up again. I don't know if, this kind of thing, if it's something that cannot really be reversed to the normal state the child was before. Or maybe it takes some processes. So I would want the presenter to really, tell more on this.
Can you tell how long has it been on? This condition?
It's been long, just up to a year now. Up to a year.
Thank you very much, Alexander. Can we tackle this?
Yeah. That's one problem that we have. Up to a year, and you haven't taken the child to see a doctor. When it comes to mental health symptoms, a lot of times people don't recognize it as legitimate health symptoms. They want to dismiss it as maybe it's a spiritual attack or it will just go away. If you have malaria, you can't wish malaria away. So if a child is manifesting any aberration in her behavior, something that this child has not been doing before, something that is clearly not normal, then take the child to see a psychiatrist, to see a clinical psychologist. It does not mean that child is mad, and we have to emphasize this. See, when a child,
if 1 in 5 is having a problem,
so
then we should stop calling it
madness. Mental health symptoms they are so common. Mental health disorders can happen to anybody. When it happens, it's not as if the person is weak. It's not as if the person has been afflicted by the devil or by one old witch in the village. It is not. It is a legitimate biological illness. That's why I brought this. You see, it's coming from the disorder of this organ, the brain. Your mind is resident in your brain. Your thinking, your understanding, your perception, your values, your attitudes, your behavior, all derive from this organ.
Let's quickly talk about how parents can form right attitudes and get the best
how
out of
to help children to cope with stress.
Exactly.
The first thing is that you must give them a sense of calm. Because now they are afraid, there's so much uncertainty, there's so much lack of structure. So the first thing is give them a sense of comfort, a sense of calm. Let them know they are loved. Let them know that they have a shoulder they can lean on. Let them know that they can talk to you.
Okay, in 1 minute, because we're out of time. I am bored, stiff. I've been at home 8 months. I'm not even sure I'm going back to the university. I don't have money to go to a private university. What can my mom or my dad or my teacher do? That
boredom is a negative emotion, but you don't have to let it rule your life. You teach children how to bring on positive emotions, how to not be fixated on the negative things in the environment, how to think outside the box. I tell you, in this COVID period, a lot of people have learned so many things. So you can convert your time. You teach them time management. Let them put structure to their daily lives. They can't just wake up in the morning because I'm not going to school, then I can do whatever they like.
So you give them things to do.
Yes. Convert that free time. Let them use it well. Let them use it judiciously. Let them learn new things. Let them be able to bring on happiness. Don't let your happiness be dependent on what happens around you. You might not be able to control what is happening, but you can control your reactions to them.
Thank you so much for coming today. That was just fun. Thank you for being with us, Alexander, Chikodi, and everybody else. Have a wonderful weekend. I am Mary Alale Yusuf.